Anyway, so there is a beauty and a simplicity to baseball. Not so much with healthcare as we make our turn. And we go back to a clip from last year where Donald Trump, after saying it was going to be easy, actually it was 2017, Donald Trump,
2 years.
After saying how easy it was going to be to reform healthcare during the campaign, suddenly figured out, like trade wars, it's not so easy. Take a look.
We have come up with a solution that's really, really, I think, very good. Now, I have to tell you, it's an unbelievably complex subject. Nobody knew that healthcare could be so complicated.
Nobody knew healthcare could be so complicated. No, actually, everybody knew, Donald.
I think we've known for decades.
Everybody knew, Donald, that healthcare was too complicated. And yet, you have wandered into it again. The Wall Street Journal editorial board doesn't think that's the wisest move. They have a new piece on the administration's latest Obamacare lawsuit, calling it, quote, a losing strategy, bad law, and high-risk politics. And this is what the Journal editorial page says. An abiding mystery of the Trump presidency is why it cannot stand prosperity, as we were talking about yesterday. And right on time, after its victory on the Russian collusion issue, the administration decided this week to elevate a legal fight over health care that is almost sure to lose. Unlike in 2012, millions of people now rely upon the law for health insurance. It's often bad insurance, but it is coverage. Now, as for politics, the White House calculation seems to be that a legal decision striking down the law would force Congress to act. But the White House had better hope it doesn't have that debate after millions have lost their insurance in an election year due to a court case. The GOP couldn't agree on a plan to replace Obamacare when it ran all of Congress, and many of the GOP members most knowledgeable about health care have retired. If there's some new emerging GOP consensus, we haven't heard about it. And Mika, as I talked about yesterday, this is the worst fight for the president to pick right now because no issue shows the intellectual bankruptcy and the intellectual rot of the Republican Party more than health care. They have been trying to stop Obamacare and trying to get rid of Obamacare for a decade. And they still don't have anything to replace it. And even when they do, it's going to cost them more seats in the House and more seats in the Senate because Donald Trump has done something that Barack Obama couldn't even do. Donald Trump has made Obamacare a very popular federal program.
Well, I mean, it became popular even among those who might have been on the right because it actually gives people something they desperately need, which usually is a political win, which makes this so hard to understand. I keep thinking, is this about John McCain still? Are you still hung up on that? But he does get hung up on people. We've seen personally how hung up he gets on people, and now he's pushing for complete elimination. Take a look.
Obamacare is a disaster. So we're going to be the part, and I said it yesterday, and I mean it 100%. I understand health care now, especially very well. A lot of people don't understand it. We are going to be the Republicans, the party of great health care. If the Supreme Court rules that Obamacare is out, we will have a plan that's far better than Obamacare.
No,
Rick Taylor, no, they
no,
won't.
He won't.
No, and
They
Rick,
won't.
that's why the Republicans on the Hill and many members of his administration are so concerned because he doesn't have a plan. Donald Trump likes to make it up as he goes along. He doesn't like even reading sheets of paper. He likes to wing it. He is a day trader. Unfortunately for Donald Trump and the Republican parties now, he's just entered a fight that he cannot win. It's also a fight, as Republicans remember all too well, that led to their worst electoral loss in U.S. history. What, over 9, 10 million votes in the midterms?
Well, Joe, you're being a little critical. I mean, this is so cynical. I mean, don't you remember Donald Trump's going to deliver on health care? He's going to deliver on pre-existing conditions the same way he delivered on a middle-class tax cut right before the midterm elections in 2018. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah?
Yep, we
I
sure do.
I also, Rick, the promises he promised.
Those middle class are so rich.
I mean, the thing that I guess Donald Trump doesn't understand, because he really doesn't understand it, when he runs in 2016, he just can't point to other presidents. What he's going to see is Donald Trump himself is going to see clips of Donald Trump promising universal health care and then taking it back, promising lower premiums and then watching them rise, promising better coverage and then watching it get worse, promising not to cut Medicare and then watching the $845 billion cuts in Medicare, promising not to cut Medicaid, and then looking at the cuts that he's proposed to Medicaid as well. It is, again, what he's been able to get away with and wing throughout most of his political career. That comes to an end when Donald Trump has video and 30-second ads that just show what a liar he is when it comes to policy, and he's just like any other flip-flopping politician.
And he's absolutely talking out of both sides of his mouth, because at the same time he promises to keep pre-existing condition, which is a core tenet of Obamacare. So how can you argue getting rid of Obamacare if you're keeping the pre-existing conditions? Yet his own Justice Administration is now supporting and arguing in favor of the court's ruling of eliminating Obamacare. There's two things that the editorial reports out. One is severability, and that's the idea that the Supreme Court would not overthrow an entire federal program based on one aspect of that program. The two is whether these 20 AGs actually have standing in Obamacare, because they're supposed to be an aggrieved party, or they're supposed to be hurt by the decision, and it's unclear to me how the attorney generals who are suing are hurt by Obamacare.
All right, we've got a lot more on this, but first, thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories, and you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.